What's your thoughts in regards to pre-education and whether it really is the deciding factor on whether somebody is intelligent or not?
I do think having structure and routine for children is important, so they understand how to think consequentially, like logically, sequentially on things. Help them understand that there's lessons to be learned in everything, especially in failure. The majority of the things you try for the first time, you will not be good at. That doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to try to do it. In life, if I've learned something, it's definitely you get out what you put in. Entrepreneurship teach you like you fail until you succeed.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the way school learns right now, it really tells you to get everything ready, make sure you're prepared so you don't fail.
People always seem to say code switching like it's negative. I believe it's a skill, and I believe it's all about adaptability. And I believe that it's something that actually schools should do more about and think more about how we can provide more social mixing and how can we get students out of their environment. Okay, hi Samuel, how you doing?
Hey Danielle, I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm really good. It's a pleasure to have you on The Education Effect. Really, really excited to have you. And how are you feeling today?
Yeah, good. Just came back from a trip from Dublin, Ireland, which was nice for a few days.
Love that.
Tried my first pint of Guinness, which some people hearing this will be shocked to hear, but it was all right.
How was it?
I had it. It was all right.
For those who don't know you, for those who this might be the first time that they're hearing you speak and kind of share your insight, do you want to give a brief overview of who you are, what you do, etc.?
Yes, of course, yeah. So for those who don't know me, as I said, my name is Samuel Okusaga, and I am in sort of two parts my what I do. So one, I work in tech. I'm a product manager. Actually, a major retailer, some of you may know, called Tesco. I work on the online shopping experience, sort of working on building features to make the way people shop online more convenient, more valuable, usable for them. And then what I'm also really passionate about is education, which is why I'm on this podcast. And I run a social enterprise called Apprentice Advantage. The logo is behind me. And we basically help young people and those in early careers navigate their career apprenticeships by delivering boot camps, programs in schools and online.
Amazing.
We've worked with loads of schools. Yeah, we've worked with over like 40 schools. We've supported 500 young people, and 8 in 10 of them always feel significantly more confident to approach apprenticeships after our courses, and 40% of them usually get offers after our courses as well.
Fantastic. So you're kind of preparing them to go on to apprenticeships. Do you also connect them with apprenticeship opportunities? Is that included as well?
Majority of the time, it's more education, so sort of helping them make informed decisions about their careers. So being able to present apprenticeship in an unbiased way to help them make that decision about what to do next. But also helping them with the skills they need to actually be competitive. They're very competitive, especially at the degree level, and to some students, they need that extra help so they can land that apprenticeship.
I love what you're doing, honestly, and I think it's really similar to some of the work that we do out in Nigeria, also just preparing young people for careers. So I'm really looking forward to us getting into, just some of your great findings within that and how you even got to that. But before we get into your story and even just your education experience, we're going to start off with something new, actually, which is called EE Hot Take. EE stands for Education Effect. Hot Take is just something that's happening in the world, and I want to know your opinion on it. So this is a statement which is: children who don't have preschool education are less intelligent than children who do. So the earlier that you educate a child, the more capable they are by the time that they reach school. And we kind of know this similar in Nigeria in particularly, where more than 6 in 10 children walk into primary school having never had any form of structural learning before, and they always seem to be behind. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts in regards to pre-education and whether it really is the deciding factor on whether somebody's intelligent or not, or do you think actually that's not true? What's your thoughts?
I definitely agree that having educating your child before they hit school is valuable
Mm,
and will give them. By the way, I have a son as well. I'm a young parent. I have a 9-year-old boy. So yeah, I'm really passionate about this kind of stuff because it impacts me at the moment.
mm,
Pre-education is important, but I don't think structure, the way it's like structuring it might not be the most important part. I do think
mm,
having structure and routine for children is important, so they understand. They understand how to think. I think consequentially, like logically,
yeah,
sequentially as well on things. I think the most important thing I think is being able to help them understand that there's lessons to be learned in everything, especially
yeah.
in failure. I'm
Mm.
one of the things I'm really helping my son Zach do right now is understand like you will not be majority of the things you try for the first time you will not be good at. That doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to try to do it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think learning that failure is part of the process is key. I think even when you say it though, I don't know if whether it's something that we can teach or whether it's something that has you have to learn through what you go through. Like I can tell you that failure is a good thing, but I think you would have to fail first and kind of
Yeah, of
figure it
course.
out to then go forward. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. So let's start off with your educational experience. Paint us a picture. You know, what was your environment when you were maybe primary, going into secondary school? What type of school did you go to, and maybe what type of student were you? So just kind of paint that background picture for us.
So I grew up in London, not just in one like area, but predominantly just in Southeast London. So, and
Hmm.
I went to right technology public schools in the UK.
Hmm.
Went
Yeah,
to
state
state
school.
schools. State schools. Went to state schools. Interestingly, I'll tell you, my secondary school and primary school were impacted me more in hindsight than I realized.
Mm,
So only because it was very normalized to me to be in an area in school where most people in my class looked like me, and I think that skewed my mind in a positive, negative. It could be anywhere, but it skewed my mind to be like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not different. I don't feel different to most people
mm,
because yeah, if you live or grew up in Southeast London, majority, especially growing up, I went to particular schools. There, you'd mainly see people of minority ethnic groups, colours, and
yeah.
also from immigrant families as well. So yeah, I went to a school in Walworth called St Paul's. I think it's still there, which is primary, and then I went to an academy still in Walworth called Walworth Academy. But in between those two times, my family moved to different areas. And yeah, the type of student I would say very studious.
Okay.
Sort of like, yeah, sort of like, I wouldn't say forced to be studious, but influenced to be studious. My mum and dad were very academic, like, you know,
Mm,
master's level and stuff. And having immigrated from another country, I think, especially, yeah, most young people who have families who have migrated, they probably talk about sort of like, could be spoken or unspoken pressure to make sure
yeah.
you do well because of the investment they made. So I think that was pretty clear for me from the day. And also being the oldest child as well, there's always that element of pressure.
Mm,
So yes,
yeah.
and my parents, I'll say my mum and dad like invested as much as they could to give me the chance to do well. Like I did a lot of extracurricular stuff, for example,
Mm.
Kumon, which people
Yes, I
might
did
know
that.
about. Yeah, so I did Kumon. Um, invested in me having other types of skills like being able to play an instrument. I can play the piano up to grade 5.
Hmm.
Um,
That's the same.
yeah, sports as well. So yeah, I'll just think about I'll say I had a lot of investment in my as much as I could in my
Yeah.
education.
Yeah, it's quite funny when you said about Southeast London because I mean I didn't grow up there. I grew up in Milton Keynes. I don't know if you know it,
Yeah,
but
yeah, of
yeah.
course, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
lots of
so
roundabouts. That's what I know it for.
yeah, exactly. And my school there was like three black people in my year group, and I was one of them. So very different.
Mm.
But it just made me laugh because I just remember going to Woolwich with my dad for the first time, and I just remember hearing a man shouting in Yoruba, which is a language in Nigeria, and just across the street, and a woman was shouting back in Yoruba, and my dad literally was like, what's going on? Like we were so we were just so
I'm
shocked,
dead.
and apparently everyone was just kind of walking normally, like, oh yeah, that's what happens in these ends. But we were just like, wow, like, yeah, that was interesting. But okay, cool. So state school environment, very studious. Parents, you said, did up to master's level. So I mean, I studied sociology, and within sociology, they speak about how parents' level of education does influence a child's level of education and how much they value education. Like you mentioned, there are a lot of Nigerians, parents who value education, who are like school, 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 school. Do you think though that because your parents had that master's level, because it wasn't just school, 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 but they actually had in-depth knowledge, do you feel like that had a play with them putting you into QMon and investing in all of these things? And would you also say as well, because some people would listen and think that it's a money thing, for your parents to be able to invest in you in terms of QMon and all of those kind of things, those cost money. Would you say that that's because you had access to that? Or would you say, no, it's not necessarily a money thing, it's just priority? What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely priority over money. My parents, I wouldn't say back then are particularly wealthy. Like,
Hmm.
it takes a lot to. My mum has like clearly said how much they've had to sort of sacrifice to pick up and go and start again in another foreign country. So it was more of a priority to make sure that sacrifice and investment paid off. I'd say, which I'm
Mm,
obviously eternally grateful for. But sometimes, I think as a child, you don't get it until I think you get older. And
yeah.
I've been blessed with my own child, so I get it even further. About at the time, it's like, rah, I just want to be a kid. Like, I just want
Yeah.
to play. Like, what I mean? I want to play out with my friends.
Mm,
I already do enough in the school. Why'd I have to do all the extra stuff? But you know what? Like in life, if I've learned something, it's definitely like you get out what you put in, and if you really
yeah.
want something, those who go far in something that in particular things because they put the hours in, and there isn't a balance, and that's because
Mm.
they want to go further than what the average person could do. So you have to do more than the average person could do. So I think as I get older, I realize what it takes and what it requires, and that's fine.
When you were younger, so let's say, in secondary school, you already told us that you were a studious person. What did you want to be at that age, 12, 13, Samuel? Did you know what you wanted to do? Did you know that kind of the long-term goal?
It's a great question. I'd say in primary school, no, not really. I've had many interests. I think probably if there's something I'll describe myself as, it's like layered and multifaceted. Like I know I have a like breadth of interest. Like there was a time where
Hmm.
I wanted to be a cosmologist to a point
Mm,
where I wanted to be in a band and like be like a pianist in a band. Like there's
yeah.
been a range of things I thought I could go do because I've had interest or like, I've had exposure to that. So I think I just wanted to like have an impact on whatever I do. I think I've always been really passionate about. I've been energized by helping others and like
Mm,
just having being able to be at service, helping others, having an impact, just do it, being able to be like, okay, like I did something.
yeah.
I think that's been something that's been on my mind. Like, I just wanted to do something with my life from a young age, I'd
Yeah.
say, and
Yeah.
that led to like lots of like small venture, yeah, like for example, I had my first venture, did my first venture when I was 16 because of that drive to do that. So yeah,
Mm. There was something that you said earlier, which I think is really key for those listening, like a takeaway, because you mentioned about being exposed, and
mm,
you wanted to be in a band at one point, and then other areas as well that you wanted to go into, and one could allude to the fact that that's probably because you were exposed, you had a lot of exposure. And in sociology they call it cultural capital, which is this leverage that you have because have not just been in your estate, let's say, and you've actually come out of that. How
Yeah.
important do you think that maybe exposure has had on your life? The fact that your parents got you to do extra things. Do you feel like that has played any role, and what impact do you think that
Mm,
that does have in
yeah.
success in any way?
I think, Daniel, I think it's critical,
Mm,
like genuinely critical to success. And I think it all stems from being a naturally curious person,
yeah,
which I think every young person has, because you are experiencing the world for the first time. You're learning so much, but somewhere in that journey, that becomes pushed back on. It becomes diminished. You start to box yourself or overthink how you come across, because you want to learn and be curious about things. Whereas I think I've been able to continue to have exposure to that, and not have that. Yeah, I think it's just continued to thrive in me, which is good.
yeah,
Yeah, I would say that my parents haven't given me exposure to things, different opportunities, different experiences. Continue to have my curiosity nurtured, and as a result,
yeah,
that helped me to keep that as a habit, even to this day. And then that means, like, I'm not just curious about what I do. I'm curious about other people. I'm curious about new
yeah.
opportunities. Like my natural approach to something new is a positive reaction, or my natural approach to something that's a change is a positive reaction, because of I'm more curious
Mm,
about what could go right than what could go wrong, or curious to
mm.
try. So that's taken me to loads of rooms, if I'm honest, in loads of places.
Wow. So good, so key. And it also shows that, money isn't everything. Sometimes people just say, oh, well, we didn't come from a silver spoon, or we didn't go to a private school. Sometimes people think that because they didn't go to a private school, because they can't send their child to private school, they miss out on these things. But, you kind of shown that actually you can still go to a state school and still be given opportunities outside of that environment. And I think it's just kind of, as parents and even teachers as well, kind of thinking a bit more out of the box. Because something you said as well, you said about how when you're a child, you limit yourself. And I think even being an educator myself, I've seen how teachers also limit students as well. We say we encourage curious thinking, but I think we still box that curious thinking, and we label students and think, oh, you're not
Mm,
smart. Just don't even attempt trying that.
mm.
Whereas that could actually be something that potentially they might thrive in.
If you're enjoying this conversation so far, then don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to comment your thoughts below, and please subscribe. And don't forget to click that notification bell so that you're reminded every single Thursday for a new upload.
Let's talk a little bit about mentorship. There is a lot of research that mentors do have a huge impact on success. And it would be really good to know whether you experienced that. Would you say that you had mentors, or would you say that you had role models, people that inspired you, or not?
Yeah, again, another thing I think is critical, especially if you come from an environment where you don't have natural access to connections, natural access to
Mm,
resources. Like someone like a mentor slash sponsor, yeah, could be a game changer, and as it's done for me. Through different stages of my life, like I've had some really incredible mentors. Some have been like shared, like even on the news and stuff. For example, people may know that I've been mentored by the former CEO of Tesco UK, and now who's the chairman of John Lewis, which is a retailer in the UK. But I've also had previous mentors. I've had like exec mentors before. I've had mentors who are in the House of Lords.
mm,
But I'll say one of my first like mentors outside my family and like immediate family was someone I met at church, who was actually an apprentice who worked at the Bank of England. When
mm,
I was in sixth form, I studied economics, and for those who study economics, Bank of England is like sort of one of the critical
yeah.
things you learn about. So I had exposure to one apprenticeships, and also exposure to some really interesting things that helped my studies at A levels, because he used to invite me to have meetings with him at the Bank of England,
Mm,
which is so cool as someone who's 17 being taken to that environment. I'd get some of the latest data and like reports about inflation, bring it to my lessons, sort of
wow.
flex on my friends. Like this is straight from the Bank of England. Like, you know what I mean? It's such a nutty thing, but and that exposed me to apprenticeships, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But yeah, I always talk about mentorship and the importance of it. And there's a
Mm,
quote by Isaac Newton that people always talk about, and I always share as well. And he says, "If I've seen further than others, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants."
mm,
And that's, I think, is a great, great, great metaphor for mentorship and what it does to you. Like, it really just gives you an extensive level of of insight. It
mm,
allows you to see, especially from someone who has delivered the things or done the things you want to do. You can learn
mm.
directly from them what they got wrong, what they got right, and they
Yeah,
can help you. And yeah, some of my mentors have helped me to achieve next thing, especially when they're in the rooms that you can't access yet, and then they can advocate for
yeah,
you, think about you. Like, yeah, yes, it's a big thing. And your mentor doesn't always have to be someone who's like super senior like mine. Like, I still have mentors or peer mentors, who can teach me things, who are maybe one or two steps ahead of me, or just people to bounce ideas off, who are very good at something you want to get better at. So I don't think people always go for like, oh, going to get a CEO to be my mentor. I want to be a CEO one day, but those people took steps right to get to places, and yeah, there's people probably in your phone book that you can learn from, just in your
yeah.
immediate, in your wider circle you can learn from as well. So like, make sure to explore that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think it's also a reminder for those who are, adults, kind of professionals to also think about who they can be a mentor to as well. Because, like
Yeah.
you said, it's literally just being able to see further ahead. And there's so many young people around you. Do you know what I mean? Everyone has either a sibling, a cousin, niece, nephew, there's a
Mm,
young person around everyone. And so imagine if we can all just kind of
mm,
get out of our little bubble sometimes and actually think about, wait a minute, what's going on
mm,
in your life and how can I actually expose you and get you into those rooms that maybe took me, 5, 10 years to get into. So I love what you said there in terms of the
yeah.
importance of mentorship, but also how we can also be mentors
Yeah.
too.
And it's two
One thing
ways,
I
obviously.
really,
Then,
oh yeah,
sorry, I shouldn't add.
yeah,
It's
no,
two.
go for it.
I'll say it's two ways because I think people always see mentorship as one way thing. Reverse
Mm,
mentoring is 100% a two-way thing, because especially people who are leaders of companies, like, companies want to be around for as long as possible, right? And for that, they
uh-huh,
need to know what the next generation think, what they want,
yeah,
how do they serve them. And as someone who's a young person, you can easily play that part by just giving your insights as to what are the new trends. And that's what I always did when I had meetings with my mentors who were like execs of companies,
mm,
because
mm-hmm,
they're so far removed, and a lot of times they sort of hear what they need to be told, or they hear what
mm,
people tell them what they want to hear. Whereas you could be someone who gives like real, raw, authentic insights from a ground level sometimes, and
wow,
it's really
no, I
valuable to
love
them.
it. No, it's so good. Something I really loved about the type of school that you went to, which I would love for you to share a bit of insight, was how your school in particular kind of imitated a private school, taking young people from kind of working class backgrounds within the area
Mm.
into this state school, but they wanted to imitate those kind of standards as private school. Can you tell us what that was like? What were those things that this school put in place that was maybe similar to a private school, and what was the effect of that? Like, did you actually see him change and impact in a certain way as a young person as well?
Yeah, so this school was actually my sixth form college, which is what you do after
Okay.
secondary school, so post 16. And it was very much a conscious decision. So this school is called Harris Westminster. It's still around. At the time, it was like it was like a really high profile, like new sort of experiment on what do you do if you guys said you take really like potential smart young people from working class backgrounds with high potential, and yeah, you give them
Mm,
access to things that private school kids would have. And access means like teachers who are highly knowledgeable about what they teach, like been to Oxbridge, PhDs in the
mm,
subjects. Environment. So our school was in Westminster, which is next to
Parliament.
and our school was next to the Parliament. It was we used to have assemblies in Westminster Abbey, which is and then a higher
Mm,
profile place. Next to Downing Street, and you're taking people who probably wouldn't come here on a usual day, except as for tourism or maybe going through. We're bringing them in there 6 days a week. Talking about that, we had school 6 days a week, which I think they've changed now. But at the time,
Wow.
because the curriculum that we mirrored was from a school that was boarding school, and the boarding school had a 6 day a week curriculum on Saturdays. So, but we didn't board, so we had to just come in on a Saturday, so nine to 1. Again, that things like that, being able to have societies, really, really high profile guest speakers, like access to the teachers' alumni who worked at, really high profile companies, things like that. Like besides the actual level of education, just those small things already changed your mindset. Sometimes, so next to my sixth form was the Queen Elizabeth Centre, which is a event space that most of the company use. And at my company, we go there for a convention every year. And I always tell people like, oh, I'm just so used to being here because for 2 years I used to go to school around the corner, and they just can't believe it. Like, wow, like that's something that majority of people in this country would not have that as an experience. So to be in that environment every single day. So yeah, I think it was the thing that probably changed the game for me, because because it just amplified how I already felt. Like when I was in my secondary school, I was really ambitious. I wasn't the gifted and talented, but like I was also quite entrepreneurial as well. But I wasn't exposed, I think, as much as I could have been to the environments, because I still went to school in Southeast London, which is not terrible, but like compared to other areas, So I think that was a big thing just from the environment change. Yeah.
Wow, that I'm so passionate about that, and I'm definitely going to read up about that school, because that's something that I believe is the key personally, with kind of bridging the gap between getting children that are from kind of deprived areas or underserved communities to really reach their full potential, is bridging that gap between those who have and those who don't have, and giving them that exposure that these people take for granted, essentially. There was something you said, and I really wanted to touch on it. It was around environment, and I wanted to speak about code switching. Do you find that you code switch because you grew up in an environment that's from Southeast London? They have a certain lingo, they have a certain vibe and way, and then you went to a sixth form that's literally right next to Parliament, and I loved what you said when you were like, oh, I'm used to being here. Was there some form of identity code switching, or no?
No, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
I code switch naturally to the extent that it's actually natural. Where it's not, I think it's culturally. I think it's just become part of me now, because how long I've been in corporate. I've been a degree apprentice. I became a degree apprentice at 18, so I entered the corporate world at 18. People have been around, but I think that's not a bad thing. I think again, if you come from, it's multiculturalism. Like that's literally what it is embodied. Like I go home. My parents. I talk to my Nigerian parents. I hang out with friends who are from who are second generation. That's the right term. The second generation. So we have our own sort of culture. I go to work and I hang out with people who are more professional. And there's loads of in between. I think there's got to be you're gonna have different sides of yourself that you have, and I think the amalgamation of that sort of just becomes you as a person, right? And that's what I have. What I think I am doing is I'm good at being that. I think I'm very good at adapting. Which is a skill. Like I think it's a skill in itself. I think some people say you shouldn't change, you teach yourself, but I think that's bad advice, because it's not as complex and complicated as it's too surface level for situations. I think you shouldn't change on your values and budge on your morals. Yes, like you have things that sort of, these are the things that you believe in, but when it comes to behavior, when it comes to being able to communicate with people effectively, like a smart person wants to get their point across. A smart person
Yeah.
wants to get the outcome they want. And if you have to
Yeah.
say things a different way, then that's how it is. Then, so you
Yeah.
can get the outcome, and that's what I think a wise person will do.
I definitely agree. I think people always seem to say code switching like it's negative. I believe it's a skill and I believe it's all about adaptability. And I definitely agree and can co sign in regards to it being natural. Having gone to a private girls' school myself and then went to a public mixed school, you know, and just seeing the culture and the customs. And every day you're like, oh, okay, this is what you do. Oh, okay, this is what we do. Okay, we don't do that. And it's not like, you know, you're just learning, really. We're young, we're taking everything in. And it's actually helped me to be able to be comfortable in environments that I realize some other people can't be comfortable in. You know, I can be in a room with and be the only black person and be absolutely fine. You know, I can walk into Parliament on a networking event and not feel uncomfortable. I do believe that it's a skill, and I believe that it's something that actually schools should do more about and think more about how we can provide more social mixing and how can we
Yes.
get students out of their environment and what kind of places can we take them to, not just the museum, because I feel like when you're 12, like a lot of people don't really like the museum. To be fair, I feel like schools take them to the museum and think, yeah, great, that's
Yeah,
you
tick
know,
box.
that's our
Yeah,
tick, right? But maybe take them to a private school, like maybe, you know, take them to a certain environment where some of you could potentially work here, you know, and help them to think that way. Do you remember, just even though I know you said it's quite natural in terms of code switching and you know you've adapted naturally, but do you remember any kind of moment where you were kind of confronted with the whole identity and then you realized that, oh, okay, like was that taught? Because what I want to kind of touch on is whether these things are taught or whether it's just being plonked into the environment and watching. So
starting a venture when I was 16, and all of the experiences. And my venture was called Word of Mouth, and it was a media company which turned into a recruitment company where we used to help companies hire diverse talent using social media. So it was like
nice.
recruitment marketing. Yeah, yeah. But it started out as a media company and would create content that was inspiring, just to motivate and help connect people who are like me and young ambitious, wanted to get on with things early, didn't want age to be a barrier. And the amount of rooms I entered from that age, I think just that's what turned me to who I am today. Like
Wow.
the people I met, obviously having to sell to corporate companies, being able
Wow.
to understand how that approaches, how that works. Of course, there were moments where it felt like, okay, damn, this isn't me. Like the people who I'm trying to serve here, and the people who I'm trying to sell to, they're so different,
Wow.
so miles apart in terms of culture, in terms of the way they talk, what they believe. But that made me realize there needed to be a bridge or person or organization who was a bridge even more, and that's what we wanted to become because I was able to, as you said, be in either room and connect with people, which was nice. So yeah.
So, if we look back, would you say that school actually prepared you for success and who you are today?
I would say yes, directly and indirectly. Um, I think both. I think school in general, especially going to the different types of schools, going to a mix, exposure to different types of people, exposure to different types of experiences, which has made me more resilient. Like again, a lot of things I learned are in hindsight. I think young people in the moment, it's going to be so hard to maybe teach these things to shape. And people talk about because you do ask yourself like, why do I learn these things? I was like facing in school, like, why am I learning this? Like, I'm not going to use this because there are things in school I haven't used. I'll be so honest. But when I think about the soft skills, when I think about the indirect things, which I think schools should be more specific to
Yeah.
teach young people, like the resilience, the ability to make an argument, ability to stand up for what I believe in and communicate what I believe in, the ability to have a structure, to focus on something that takes a lot of time. These are all skills that you would need to be successful in your job, in life, in your business. And yeah, I would say school prepared me for that, especially my sixth form. My sixth form definitely taught me the meaning of like hard work, the meaning of I would say being putting high effort into things, because we did 4 A levels. You couldn't drop any of them. 6 days a week, long hours. Yeah, the meaning of sacrifice and being willing to sacrifice something to get the outcome. Although like what it didn't prepare me for, and I guess when I say indirectly, like, but it's because of my personality, it made me believe in my gut more, because what I was being told isn't what I believe. So I then went on my own, like by myself, to explore what I wanted to do. And in terms of entrepreneurship, like I do think more could be done. I think that's the only part that schools are missing. I know schools, I feel entrepreneurship isn't something that schools push more, and I think this country needs more people to be entrepreneurs from all walks of life.
What do you think that should look like? Because I was actually going to ask you, what do you think is the missing thing, and what kind of looking back, what would you have preferred, your school to have shine more light on, or what do you think would have prepared you more? But yeah, what do you think that is? If that's still entrepreneurship, and if it is, what does that look like?
Yeah, I do think 2 things. One, being able to give more real life scenarios when you will need things you learn. I do think, but it's depending on your teacher. Like, I think some teachers, you can tell it's a job for them. Some teachers, you can tell it's a passion. So I think teachers who are passionate do probably tell this already, but maybe we need more. And then 2, I think entrepreneurship in terms of, I think entrepreneurship teaches you like you fail until you succeed.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the way school learns right now, it really tells you to get everything ready, make sure you're prepared, so you don't fail. And as a result, you don't really try until you feel 100% prepared and confident, which is not what entrepreneurship is about. Entrepreneurship is about trying with what you have, starting with what you have, obviously with caveats and nuances, but it's more like try, test, you probably will flop, but then you learn from that flop, and then you keep doing it until you succeed.
Yeah.
I think there's unfortunately, the way the system's set up, I don't think that is supported right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think right now it's more theory based, and I think it would be really good to make it more practical. So not just hypothetically, if you had started a business and they do all the writings and everything, and that's it, and it just stays on the paper. But challenge them even further and be like, in the next 3 weeks, I want to see your social media page, your marketing plan. I want to see how many people you could have signed up. How many places have you gone outside of your area to do market research? I think giving them that real life work experience is probably going to be really powerful, and then get them to learn that skill that you're talking about, which is the learning to fail now. So that's amazing. Samuel, it's been such a pleasure having you on The Education Effect. It's been so insightful. Just as we wrap up, is there anything that you want to leave for those listening at all?
I'm really passionate about people being confident enough to take alternative paths. Like, majority of my life is me taking different paths to the status norm. So yeah, I would say, like, don't be frightened to do something different to what everyone does if it's right for you. That's what we push about Apprentice Advantage. We give young people like the information to know, like, not everyone should do an apprenticeship, but if you have these are the things you're passionate about, you have these skill sets and you're willing to do these things, then it could be the right thing to do after sixth form. And I would say, like, I think people talk about this a lot, but education doesn't end in the classroom. Like, that's one thing I would say, like, please, I want to reignite the curiosity of, like, of our population, of, like, young people. I think it's one of the key things that people need to keep to take them far. I think too many people are too comfortable just knowing what they know. And, like, this is me. This is who I am. I'm not going to change. Like, I don't think that's the right mentality to have. I think you'll fall short, and that you will give yourself access to opportunities that can take you further if you don't do that.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Samuel. I hope that you've had a great time here, and look forward to hopefully seeing you again.
Thank you, Danielle.
If you enjoyed this conversation, then do not forget to subscribe. Join the Education Effect family, and I can't wait to see you with my next guest.